listening to episode 53 of the Comm Cafe. Today's episode, it's adventure, living a fulfilled life, and using the life map, as defined by my guest today, Miss Sharon Stokes. She is an adventure expert, life fulfillment coach. She's based here in Toronto, Canada. Now sit back and enjoy my episode with Sharon Stokes. Welcome to the Comm Cafe.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, it's going to be fun today. And you are my first adventure expert on the Comm Cafe. So don't worry, you're going to fall under, we really talk about, so the Comm Cafe is it's for entrepreneurs, small business owners, talk about lifestyle, mindset, personal development, professional development. And I know you're going to fall into that because one of the things you're doing is adventure retreats, which is really puts all those three in one big package. So how did you get into adventure retreats and other things?
I like to call myself an adventure expert, and I'm also a life fulfillment coach. So there's that coaching element in there as well, and personal development. But I'm a huge fan of adventures. And what I love to do with people is I love to inspire and encourage people to step outside their comfort zone, to conquer their fears, and to really experience life so they can live their most fulfilling life. And I find that by going out there and doing all of these different things and challenging yourself, you're automatically going to boost your confidence, and you're going to grow in ways that you never imagined, because you're all of a sudden proving to yourself you're capable of doing all of these things that you never really thought of before.
And sometimes it's just getting people to think out. I'm not going to use that word, think outside the box, but really just to think, what is it that I want? So that really hit me a while ago. Is like what, and when I work with my clients, we say, well, what is the life that you want? People put dollar values and houses and cars and different things on their vision board, but what is it the life that you want, and how do you get there? So before we get that far, you weren't always an entrepreneur, or maybe you were an entrepreneur. So you want to share a little bit about short journey from A to B, how you got to where you are today, and how I develop skills in my corporate job. I'm sure you develop skills in your corporate experience, and how you apply those to what you're doing today.
Yeah, so for 10 years, I was actually a TV producer. So I produced segments on E-Talk and the Marilyn Dennis Show for CTV. And it was only maybe a few years ago I decided that I was ready for something else. I felt that I wasn't living up to my true potential. I knew that I was capable of more. I had these gifts that just weren't being utilized in that particular position. So when I was producing a segment on the Marilyn Dennis Show, I ended up producing a segment with a coach, and he invited me to a seminar that he was hosting here in Toronto. And when I went and I heard him on stage and I just felt the energy of the room, I just had this epiphany moment of, this is what I am meant to be doing. And as soon as I had that aha moment, there was no stopping me. Right away, I looked at all the options in terms of what it would take to become a coach. But not only that, but it also transported me back to when I was a little girl. And all of a sudden, everything started to make a lot of sense. Because when I was around 14, 15 years old, I used to do a lot of self-reflection. I used to write in my journal. I used to come up with life theories. I really loved trying to understand people and why they were the way that they were, why they reacted the way they did to certain situations, and what really drove them to be who they are. So all of a sudden, the way that I used to think, or the way that I always thought, all of a sudden made sense in terms of this new world and this new position and career that I was all of a sudden creating for myself. So it was almost like I discovered exactly what my purpose was in life. And not only that, but now I was also, with my TV production background, I brought a lot of that into my business as well. So I do a lot of video content. I have a YouTube channel because there's still that creative component inside to me that I really love as well. So now it's been a lot of fun being able to infuse all of those things together, and then also the adventure element as well. So it's like I have these TV production skills, I have this coaching career, and then also this adventure passion of mine as well that I've just kind of melded into one big thing.
I like it. And some people I'm sure some people look at you and they may look a little sideways, or they don't understand. Some people don't see the big picture, and like, how do you do this, this, and this? And I know you see it as an umbrella, and they slot all in nicely. What do you get when people look at you and kind of like, really, like, you had a job which like a lot of people would be like, that's like was their end goal. That'd be like their end goal to be producing,
Yeah.
and then to leave that to then go into the risk or the, not as a risk, but there's lots of challenges of being your own business owner and being an entrepreneur. What did your family, friends, did they think you're crazy? Did they think you were doing what you're following your passion? What was the initial response?
Well, I think a lot of my coworkers probably thought I was a little crazy. They're kind of like, you have this comfortable job, you know what you're doing, you're secure. Like, what are you going to do? Like, it is hard for, I think, others to see your vision, right? And I mean, I had a bit of a vision, but I mean, the vision always grows and evolves as well, which I've been learning as an entrepreneur. But it was just my intuition, which I call my inner GPS. It was just on fire. Like, it just knew that that's just what I had to do. And it just didn't matter what anyone else thought, because I knew they couldn't see my vision or understand it. And that's okay. That's totally fine, because I just knew what felt right for me. And so, yeah, I just jumped in with both feet. I knew that if I didn't, I would always wonder, like, what if I didn't take that risk? What if I didn't actually discover and figure out what I'm capable of? So I really needed to do that for myself, and I knew that.
Yeah, and I really like it. I know one of the books I read was Napoleon Hill's Outwitting the Devil, where he talks about us drifting. So it was like, I spent 18 years in corporate. So you get this job and it's comfortable, and you just kind of go home and you watch TV, you get up and you go to work the next day, and you just kind of drift. But hey, guess what? You may not actually be able to get actually ahead in those jobs, because there's a limit to what you can earn. There's a limit to what you can achieve. There can be a limit to what, because you may have ideas that that your employer doesn't necessarily see the same benefit to those ideas. Yeah. So it's a real challenge, where there are these people, and there's more and more of them today, are these people that just like, I want something bigger, and it's okay to actually take a step backwards, potentially from a cash flow point of view, and say, well, I'm going to take a step backwards, make things a little bit simpler, and then fast forward into something exciting. So
yeah, that's exactly how I felt, because I was in this position and I was like, I don't know, there's nowhere else I want to go from here, like in terms of the industry. And I also couldn't see myself just doing that same job forever. I was getting burnt out. I was getting creatively burnt out. I was ready for the next thing. And I'm just glad that I finally figured out what that was, because it took a few years, because I knew I was getting restless for a while, and I just didn't know what was going to be next for me. And it was super frustrating. And this is what I help a lot of people with now in careers, where they thought that their life was going to feel different, they thought it was going to look different, but they don't really know where to go from here. They don't know what their purpose is. They don't know what they're passionate about. So I love helping people now. I coach people through trying to figure that out and helping them tap into what it is that they really, really want.
All right, and that's going to lead us into a really nice thing called the life map, I think.
Yes.
So let's talk about that, because it's I'm guessing that's a beginning tool that you use with clients or people to just get started thinking, or what is the life map?
Yeah, the Life Map is a program that I developed, and I developed it after really taking a look at my own life and really understanding how every experience, person, and event really got me to where I am today. And it's the good, the bad, and the ugly, but being able to really own your story and seeing how all of those situations had to happen in your life for you to get where you are. So what I do with clients is this 4-step process. I get them to really create a timeline of their life and to really put down all the experiences, the good and the bad, the positive, the negative. And then what I do is I coach them through it. And I have the life map language as well, where it's like, okay, let's understand who the backseat drivers have been in your life. Who are the passengers, the navigators? When have you hit a roadblock? When have you listened to your inner GPS? What's in your roadside assistance kit? When have you hit cruise control? When have you shifted gears? So I've developed this real life map, sort of road trippy language in this program, just to help bring clarity to those specific moments in your life. And I help people look and reframe those situations usually the more negative situations in their life, for them to see it in a different light, for them to own it in a different way, that's really going to help them let it go so they can move forward. And we also really uncover a lot of limiting beliefs and patterns that are really keeping you small. So just things that you belief patterns that you started to hold on to throughout your entire life. Maybe it was something someone said to you. Maybe it was an experience that you had that you saw as a failure. And now you don't believe that you have what it takes to move forward and to conquer what else is in life. So I really help people to peel back the layers of that, to understand that there was a purpose for that, and to help them let it go so they're able to really go on and live their most fulfilling life and to start to rebuild their confidence around those situations.
Sounds good. And I love, I really do like the road, like the road or the roadmap and the analogies, or because people can relate to it. They can understand and say, okay, what, shifting gears. Okay, that means when have I, put it into drive? Like when was I sitting in neutral? I had the emergency brake on for a long time, or I was just coasting down a hill, or sharp turn.
In there, right? We can relate to that. And also like our blind spots, we all have blind spots as well. And when we're driving as well, it's like you really have to figure out ways to see those in a different way. And so what I really love to do is to help people find their blind spots and acknowledge what they are so they can move forward with it.
Okay. I'm sure you have a lot of clients that are sitting there staring in the rearview mirror as well.
That's another thing. Yeah, past regrets. What are we holding on to here and not being able to let it go? So, yeah, exactly, all those things.
All right. So, do you have a favorite story from your life map that you like to, as an example of how it applies, that you can use, that you're okay to use? I'm sure you have a couple that you share with when people are interested in working with you, how you use the life map for yourself.
Yeah, I mean, when I created my own life map, one glaring thing that popped out at me, was a bit of an aha moment, was I didn't realize how long I had been holding on to the belief that I was boring. I always thought that I was boring. And when I looked at my life map, I all of a sudden realized where that thought and that belief came from. And it was when I was about 18 years old, and I was coming back home from work, and I had roommates at the time, and I was getting my keys out to open the door, and I overheard my roommate and her friend talking, and I heard her friend say, "Sharon is boring." Like, I legit heard it word for word. So there was like no making that up in my head. Like, it was a real thing that was said. And that was like a dagger into my heart. I was like, oh my gosh, like, I'm boring. Like, she says I'm boring, I must be boring. And it wasn't like I held on to that moment, but unconsciously I held on to that belief without even realizing it. And I went through life just really holding myself back in social situations, not really allowing myself to go out and have a good time and have fun, just because I just assumed that everyone would think I was boring. And so I kept myself really small in that space. So when I looked at my life map and I realized that, I was able to own that situation in a different way. And I realized that it's not that I'm boring. We just all have a different definition of what fun is. And just because what she might think is fun, what I might think is fun, may not be the same thing. It doesn't mean that it's right or wrong. It just means we have different interests. And over my life, I've been able to find people who I have a ton of fun with because we actually have the same interests and we enjoy doing the same things. And so I was able to reframe that situation in a way that let me let go of that and made me feel more confident in the end. And now I just go out and I have all the fun in the world and I feel great about it. So that's just an example of one life map moment that really helped me to bring clarity to that part of my life and to recognize how that was holding me back. So that was kind of cool to see. And so I take people through the life map on a one-on-one basis. So working with people one-on-one through it. I also teach the life map at retreats that I host as well. I do one in Costa Rica pretty much every year. I have one coming up in March, and that's more of like a group setting. So there's different ways that I love to teach the life map. The one-on-one is really diving in deep to the individual's life, whereas the group coaching that happens at the retreat is really just talking more about the life map language. So let's talk about backseat drivers in our lives. What does that look like? How are you struggling with that? And it's really just a space where we connect and we open up and we share and we help each other and we support each other with whatever it is that we're going through. Because it's really a 360 degree of your entire life. We really tap into every area. And I think everyone has so much insight that they can share from their own experiences that can really also help others.
Mm-hmm. Costa Rica does not sound boring.
No. Well, you know how much I love adventure.
And we're having fun. And we're having fun today. So it's fun. So I definitely disagree. But it's really interesting though how you go back to that one trigger and when we were like 16, 17, 18. If you didn't, if your view of a good time was not going out drinking till you couldn't move, if that wasn't you, then yeah, it's amazing that people just say, hey, well, you must be boring because you want to stay home and study or something. And it's really interesting how, like, even today, like in high school, you have your different groups. So you have your athletes, you have your, your academics, you have the others, and it really it can really be implanted on you for a long time if you aren't aware of or subconsciously. And so fantastic that's what you help, because you can actually go back and rewrite those moments and do the work, regression work, timeline work, to go back and actually view it and say, well, wait a second, that wasn't actually the way it was at all. That was just my 18-year-old version's interpretation of that event.
Yeah, no, exactly. And it's amazing the things that we hold on to without even realizing it. It's not until we take the time to really look back to understand how those moments have and are still affecting us.
Okay. All right. Now, hey, so while we're there, I know you have a link. We're going to put it in the show notes, but can you share a link where people can go and they can actually click on and get the download of the life map?
Yeah, so I created a free online 4-step guide to creating your own life map. So it really takes you through the 4-step process so you can start tackling it on your own. Obviously, I'm here if you have questions or if you need more guidance with it. But it's a free download. So like you said, you're going to put the link in the show notes there. And all it is, you just put in your email address and you get it sent right to you, and you can start on it right away. Just set some time aside to just give yourself space to really dive in deep and to get real with yourself, and to just allow yourself time to really reflect on your life map. It takes work. This kind of stuff takes work, but it's so beneficial in the end.
Yeah, but again, a lot of people are doing the other work. So a lot of people now are doing like the goal setting and doing all that work, but they aren't necessarily doing sort of the inner work to say, okay, what's maybe preventing me from achieving those goals, and they just kind of get disappointed that way. All right. How can I want to share your website so that people are listening? They can make a note and click through to find you on where is the best place for them to find you?
Yeah, so my website is sharonstokes.ca. So there's a bunch of stuff on there that you can connect with me on. You can send me an email. Also, Sharon@sharonstokes.ca is my email address. And then I'm all over all of social media, so I always love to connect with people on there as well. So feel free to add me as a friend or to follow me. I'm on Instagram, Sharon.Stokes, and my Facebook is Sharon Stokes Coaching. So feel free to connect with me there as well.
Yeah, and it's great. And again, it's just to say, here's a good question. So I like all the stuff we talked about so far. So now, if you don't mind, I'm going to ask you a couple of questions so that there's because you've made that transition from corporate to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people are still struggling with the social media or the challenges to say, it's just completely overwhelming to say, okay, there's Facebook, there's Twitter, there's Instagram, there's Pinterest, there's YouTube. So I know you said you're still using YouTube. And so so here's my quick tip is I tell people, even before they start a website, is to get a profile on the big four, because the big four are free. So it's actually one of my colleagues and one of my mentors actually called it put on your golf shirt. So it was Google, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter. I'm not sure if Google's still kind of around, but not as much maybe. But really the importance of establishing a presence on Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. Now there's also Instagram and YouTube.
Yeah.
So which one did you start with?
I mean, think I've had Facebook the longest, but to be honest, Instagram is my main one. That's my favorite one. I'm a visual creative person, so I love the photographs. I also love Instagram stories and just being silly and letting people sort of behind the scenes of my life and what goes on. A lot of stuff with my dog Lucy, who's super cute. But yeah, Instagram I would say is my main thing. Also because I find that it allows me to connect with people more easily around the world. So, I have clients in the Netherlands and Estonia, and it's kind of cool just to be able to see all the different types of people out there. And I think Instagram is a great platform for that.
Yeah. All right. So then, since Instagram's the place, do you have any? You got like a top 2-3 tips that you find that really works with you, that's getting you engagement?
Yeah, I would say consistency is key. I mean, just to stay on top of mind, and also just to always get content out there is important. So being consistent, I would say, is number one. Number two, have value behind your posts. Like, I always like to put a lot of thought into the caption that I put with the photo. It's not just about the picture. I mean, I know that's what people see first, but I always love being able to give something of value in every post that I put out there. And I would say engagement. So people who are commenting, people who are liking, engage with them, build relationships with them, connect with them, learn more about them, and you'll start to be able to create more of a community for yourself that way.
So true. Actually, I reached out to someone because I had a contact on, I don't really use it that much, but on WhatsApp. So I sent a note just to follow up with them, because my conversation trail is on WhatsApp. And then she's like, "Oh, I've been following you on Instagram." I'm like, "What?" She's like, "I really like your content." I'm like, "Wow, who knows?" So then I asked her, "Well, so I asked her, like, "What's your Instagram user, like your Instagram name?" And then I'm like, so it's amazing. Like, sometimes it's just like you don't know who's following you. Can I share one? Because I started using Instagram a bit more recently, and I'll give you my thing that I learned about. So I was following someone, and they said, here's the thing to do. It's like, pick 5 things and just one post a day.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I picked 6, so I do 6 days a week. Maybe I'm an overachiever. So it was like 5 things that you want people to know about you. That's not business. So for example, you have one, which is the dog. I have, so mine, for example, I have a podcast. So one day I'll post the podcast. Family, food, finances, and I'm trying to remember what the other one is. Doesn't really matter. But then so every Monday is a post about food. Because I like cooking. And then every Tuesday is a link to the podcast. Every Wednesday, and then it's about writing, like almost like a short blog in that post. So it's not just a picture of like what I ate for dinner. There's a commentary of, to say, and then family. So like we went to Ottawa, but then I wrote the story about how was the whole trip about Ottawa? How did it come about? And it really works. Like, and this woman, she has over 100,000 followers, and she lives living in like Utah, and like some small town in Utah. And she's like, it doesn't matter where you live. And prime example, you have clients in Estonia, and like, it doesn't matter where you live, that you can, whether it be Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, your business is global. What's the most interesting client that you've had? Like, without naming them, but kind of like where they live, how you got, how they came to be working with you. You have an interesting client story?
I mean, I would say the one in Estonia, I mean, it's just kind of cool that I've been able to connect with somebody there and help somebody there. And I mean, her English is pretty good, but there's always that fear of like a bit of a language barrier. And it's also just like a bit of a cultural difference too, like the different values, and just trying to understand values in different parts of the world compared to the values that I'm used to. And it's just really, really interesting just to understand those different types of mindsets.
100%. Actually, I have an online course, and I had a student reach out from me from Turkey.
Well, yeah.
I think it's so great to actually have online, or like an online component, or be able to do, but still do one-on-one coaching, but to be able to do it virtually, that you don't need to be meeting people face to face. It's still nice to meet them if you can.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, I do all my coaching over the phone or over Skype, so it's kind of whatever the person prefers. But yeah, I rarely meet with anybody in person for the coaching that we do together.
But you save that for the retreat.
Yes, that is all in person.
Exactly. You want to see me in person.
I definitely want to be in Costa Rica.
If you want to work with me in person, you just have to come to Costa Rica. That's that's an awesome upsell. Like, why wouldn't they want to come to?
Yeah.
Especially in March when it's still kind of dreary and cold and not so nice here in Toronto. It's a perfect time to
exactly. Yes.
All right. So if do you still have spots for? I know. So maybe a quick update as to. I know this is a bit time sensitive because we're recording this in January of 2018. So your trip's coming up in March. But hey, if they're listening to it after, there's always next year's trip.
Yeah.
So who's the? I know you said it's just for women, right?
Yeah, right now the international retreats, the ones in Costa Rica, are just for women. There's a couple spots left for the one this March, but there definitely will be more coming up. I'm also looking at doing some little mini retreats, more locally, but over the weekends in the summertime. I'm thinking about doing a glamping one where we're gonna go and stay in really luxurious tents and have some adventures. So that's going to be fun as well. So yeah, lots of things that are going to be popping up for sure.
All right. Unless you have, do you have any parting thoughts? The last little nugget you want to leave with the listeners?
I would just say, just go out and try something new today.
I like that. Just do something, like whether it be try something new to eat.
Yeah, anything. It could be small. It doesn't have to be some crazy big thing. It could be something, maybe even just turn a different way walking home today. See where that takes you. Explore something new.
Take the stairs, stay in the elevator, do something. All right. I want to thank you for being on the Comm Cafe today. I want to thank the listeners for stopping in and listening. Hopefully you found some great content. We shared some good tips there, both of us, for Instagram. Instagram's great, especially if you have a cute dog. Or pets. Pets are there's all kinds of great stuff on Instagram for pets, but hey, it's also a great way to build a business, and using the new Instagram stories and live video inside of Instagram is a valued tool. We didn't even touch on YouTube today, but we'll have you back on, and maybe we'll talk specifically next time about YouTube and how you're using YouTube in your business, because a lot of people have moved away from YouTube, but I think more people are maybe moving back to YouTube as well. So I'd love to learn more about that next time when you're on the Comm Cafe. All right, friends, thank you for listening. And remember, you can hop over to on iTunes, like and subscribe, or just share the episode if you think that someone would benefit from listening. We always appreciate a share to the world. All right. Have a great day, friends, and stay tuned for the next episode of the Comm Cafe.